Hey, what's going on, good people? This is Kenny Groom, host of the Beyond Normal podcast, representing Beyond Normal Media. I wanted to hop on just real fast and just talk a little bit about my experience, final recap at Thrive 2025, presented by Black Men in Tech. Incredible experience. Really 10 out of 10 for me. I was looking to be in this space. Had been hearing about it for the last couple years, and through some of our past guests, most recently, shout out to Zachary Nunn. We had him on this season. He's doing amazing things in living corporate. And go check out that episode if you have not. But Zach let me know. I told him once, he was a guest and he had an idea of what our focus was moving forward. He told me I definitely had to connect with Cam Ward. Actually, that conversation happened before even season 7 um, started, and so he was able to connect me directly with Cam. Cam is the founder of Thrive 2025 and Black Men in Tech, and so it was incredible to connect with Cam. I wasn't able to attend some of their earlier events this year and the end of last year, but I put the event on my radar just to make sure. I put it on my calendar. I should say that, like I locked it in. I bought my ticket early. For those who are new to going to these conferences, or like myself, just back outside, right? Maybe you had a loved one, you got married last couple years, you had a kid, you have a family member you've been taking care of, and now you're back outside. Those early bird specials, make sure you're aware of the time when the event is going to happen in the year. And typically those early bird specials, they're like 4 to 6 months in advance, so you get some really good pricing on the tickets. You can schedule out in advance. Shout out to all the budget airlines. I'm not going to name any specifically because they're not paying me, but there are some amazing deals. I know in the news, airlines seem to be going out of business and filing for bankruptcy. But until then, make sure you take advantage of some of these competitive prices that are out here now. But I was able to really, from day one, I got to Fort Lauderdale, excuse me, rather early. I got there. The event was really Thursday evening is when it started, Friday and then Saturday. But I got to Fort Lauderdale kind of early, right around 7:30 a.m. And so I was able to experience the city, food, connect with some folks that I know that are in this area, who I worked with previously. Some I still do some work with as well. And so that gave me that an idea of what to expect. Night one was rather chill, had a mixer, but then Thursday, things really kicked off really early. I am typically not somebody who's going to, if I have a choice, wake up early. Early for me is before 9 a.m., I'll be honest. But I was actually excited to wake up early on Friday. If I'm getting my dates right. Yeah, Friday. Because on Thursday night, I was able to network and with some of the attendees, and several of the people who were speaking on Friday specifically told me, like, hey, come out to my session. I was For some of them, it was their first time being in the setting, being the speaker. And so for me, it was exciting to support someone who was taking a gamble on themselves, right? And so the session started right around 8 o'clock. There was a morning yoga Friday and Saturday at 7 a.m. I did not attend those. Yoga is not my thing, but I appreciate that they're offering these different opportunities, these different ways to connect for folks. I can tell you, yoga is a way of life in Fort Lauderdale. Even on my way from the airport, I saw several people on the beach in the morning, again, 7:30 a.m. on the beach doing their morning yoga routine, the waves, the sunrise. It makes sense for people who are into that to be in that location. But really, from the very first sessions I attended on Friday and then even going into Saturday, powerful conversations. It was really incredible to see the level of hiring executive that was at this conference. And so, a lot of folks that are on the HR side, driving diversity, these are folks that have uh, big titles. They have some really important responsibilities in their organization. And I would say for several of the organizations, whether it be a trying to think, Intuit was there heavy, Cambridge Mobile Technologies out in Boston was there heavy. Instead of it just being the executive, they brought their team along to really showcase, like, here's the individuals we're empowering, right? And I really think that's a great. It's rather you rather hear it from the employees themselves versus it being, talking points from an executive who rehearses these things all the time. And they kept it real in a lot of their conversations, right? I'm not going to really pinpoint any specific organization and what they said, because these conversations were meant to be behind closed doors to allow the employees to really have, the stage to really tell us how their experience has been, the opportunities, the growth opportunities they have at these organizations. And then for those who are job seeking, to ask, unfiltered questions. Don't know, there was no stupid question, right, in these rooms. And so I appreciated that. The sessions were rather intimate, outside of the main sessions, with the main stage sessions, which I appreciated as well, because you could be in a room, right, with some folks from, say, McDonald's or something like that, right? And if someone's on that panel in that moment, you can, have the floor, right, to ask them any question you want. That's super powerful. So there may have only been in some of the breakout sessions, 10, 15 people in the room. The smaller, the better, honestly. For those who, there was a quite a bit of folks that I noticed who were there, seeking their next opportunity, a mix of local talent to Florida and beyond, people who are coming from outside of Florida, such as myself. I was there mainly to look for founders, but I did notice that there was a heavy presence of folks looking for how to break into tech, and really just given the current environment around hiring and really companies and headcount and things like that. A lot of companies are not hiring right now, and so it is, the duty of the person looking for a job to really leave no stone unturned. And so it was great to see the level of black talent that was out there turning over every stone, right? Any opportunity, having conversations. There were a lot of people there. They would just come up to you, be direct, spark some conversation, and then they would, say, let's exchange LinkedIn's, and they would keep it moving. And I appreciated that. It allows us to connect and learn, allows me to tell our story from a beyond normal perspective as well, what we're trying to do. I met some incredible founders. I would say I met more founders on Saturday. Um, After a few conversations, folks ended up connecting me with others, and so I appreciated that as well. Um, One call out, I talked about it a little bit on social media, was around some of the business to business opportunities that I saw. There was a sneaker vendor there, so he created his own sneaker. I'll make sure to see. I'll put his information below. I definitely want to highlight what he's doing there. But he has his own sneaker. He didn't have my size in stock at the conference, but the shoe felt like, I tried on like I think I tried on like an 11 and a half or something, so it was a little bit smaller um, than what my actual size was. But the shoe felt like I was stepping in a pillow. And so I'll definitely be following up with him to see how I can get the sizing. But even for someone like that who has physical product, the conversations that were had were once he got good feedback from the attendees, he was like, "Well, how do I get a booth here? How do I set up a table here next year?" And so that's just one example of some of like the B2B opportunities that was on display here. One thing I want to shout out is the creatives, the folks who are behind the camera, doing video, doing photography, doing artwork, doing graphic design. There is such a need for those individuals. The presence of the graphic design team was felt at Black Week. So the folks that supported all the social media that went out, and even the day of the event, I would see footage being filmed, and then I would see it like a couple hours later. And right, so that takes a team, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people at a conference of that size are definitely needed. And so I just wanted to put that out there for all those who are creators right now looking for opportunities, maybe looking for their next freelance gig. These conferences, these festivals are really a hotbed for opportunities. I'll tell you, on Friday, I was able to connect with some of the speakers that I've known previously. You will see some of those speakers from Black Week on our podcast for sure coming up. Some stuff is in the works, but I was able to connect with some of them, and two of them were interested in having photographers for their speaking that they were doing during their session at the event. One of them really wanted somebody. The other one was just kind of a soft inquiry. And so right before I connected with them, I had sparked up a conversation with some of the photographers who were filming some clients at the conference already. And so once they let me know that they had some, a gap to fill, I just put out there, hey, let me see who I know within my network. I did know some photographers in Florida in that area already, but I was like, hey, I just met somebody at the conference. They're already here. Let me ask them. And so I ran over, speed walked, did my little jog thing over to them and said, hey, what you doing tomorrow? What sort of time and opportunity, what gaps do you have? Somebody, may be of interest in using your services. And so they gave me a quick yes. I was like, let's make this connection right now in the moment. And we just made it happen, right? We went to, I think, actually this was around lunchtime. Folks were eating, but I was like, hey, like, let me just make that connection and then just move out the way, right? And it's felt really good to see specifically the creatives. I'm a podcaster myself, but folks that are in on the filming side, on the editing side, graphic design, etc. Like it feels really good to see those folks in those disciplines get opportunities. So I just want to throw out there, if you are a creative, these festivals, these business festivals, these tech festivals are really a hotbed for opportunity. Speakers, the folks who are speaking at these engagements, they always need somebody to be filming them because they want to be focused on building their network, getting sales, and so they don't have time to really whip out their phone and worry about the content. And so they gladly pay somebody, right, to do that for them, right, to film the behind the scenes and just be a fly on the wall, right, while they do their thing. It's so powerful. It was so beautiful to see that on display at this conference. In addition to that, the Black Men in Tech team, they were gracious enough to give me a space to record during the event. So I was able to record with some folks, do some testimonial things. A cool shout out. I want to make sure I get the names right for some of the folks that I wanted to shout out. There's at least one person that I want to shout out. Let me get the name. There's a couple folks, but I took a couple notes. Let me go ahead and pull it up. There was one business owner, but I think I'll do my creative, my creative compadre, Dana Duckworth. She's out of Virginia. She's got her podcast name is Hilariously Unemployed. So she started her podcast journey, uh, in a situation as the name implies, right, where she was unemployed, got laid off, and so she just talked through that experience, where her learnings were, and now she's to the point now where she's taking a gamble on herself, and she's like, well, how big can she make this brand that she's worked out around Hilariously Unemployed? She was actually one of the speakers. I believe she was on the last day where she had a panel with founders and owners of businesses who took those gambles on themselves, right? And what they, well, for someone who is on the fence with starting a business, what are some tips and tricks and things that they can just let them know to keep it real on, right? So she laid that panel, but that panel is definitely the evolution of her growing from a content perspective. Check out her content, Dana Duckworth. I'll make sure I put a link in the video so you can make sure you check out her page. Incredible, incredible individual. We were able to connect. I let her know, hey, I got a little just a mini setup for the conference. She saw a couple of things that I'm working with. We exchanged notes, and we'll be doing something moving forward. Because again, there's so much opportunity in for creatives in these spaces. Not only are there opportunities to support with your discipline, but I definitely think there is um, some opportunities for collaboration between creatives, right? I immediately saw some of the tools that Dana was using, and I was intrigued as to how she's able to get her content out and the quality of it. And so there's just learning opportunities. Again, that's where that collaboration comes in. So be on the lookout. We may be releasing some stuff jointly together moving forward. But that's just one of the creatives I met: photographers, videographers, lighting folks, audio folks, you name it. It was on full display at this event. I also want to talk about how the event was ended. I think at times these tech events, these sorts of conferences that people attend, they tend to have a standard run of show. Right? There's the night of, or the night of the first, when it starts, there's usually like an opening ceremony. There's like a day or two of like sessions and main stage like themes and people getting on stage. And then that last day is like, hey, we're gonna wrap up. Maybe we do a happy hour. Maybe we do something light. This conference put on by Black Men in Tech, Thrive 2025, ended with it ended at a club. It ended as a party, a celebration. I think that was amazing because anybody who's ever been to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, this area, South Florida specifically, they know how to throw a good party. And so I appreciated them doing that. They really made it, a moment in time. Folks taking pictures, dressing up. The theme was blackout, right? So folks are dressed in all black, looking clean, looking amazing, representing the club we were at. Was It was on the main strip in terms of the club scene at in Fort Lauderdale, downtown Fort Lauderdale. And so I feel like we represented well. We did our thing. We showed, what tech talent, what tech founders, what business owners can really come together and do. And why not celebrate, to close things out in a really South Florida way when you're having a conference in South Florida. So I wanted to shout out the team for doing that, because amazing, amazing, amazing job putting this all together. I definitely recommend folks check this event out moving forward. They had the event at the Westin Resort, I think is what the official name is, in Fort Lauderdale. Everything was there for the most part, besides that final night where we went to a off premise. But the entire event, the stay is there. The pool is right on the ocean, so you can go to the ocean real quickly in between sessions, do your thing, and then come back and kind of be rocking and rolling in terms of networking and things like that. There's a restaurant at the resort hotel as well. And so it's a really great place to go, um, and not have to feel like you got to be all over the place and experience the city. I know some of the bigger conferences that are out there, you do have it kind of spread out over the city. Think of like a South by Southwest kind of format that a lot of festivals follow. This one, everything's in one place, and for the price, all in, I probably can't think between the ticket, general admission ticket, the stay, the room and board, some food, probably maybe 500 to 700 bucks, right? So not a lot in terms of the conference experience now for a lot of folks can be easily thousands of dollars. That I won't go into to that too much because the conferences in some of the bigger cities, a little bit of transparency for me. Name the top 5 or 8 cities, right? In terms of population, things like that, in terms of stuff going on, GDP. Those cities attract a lot of conferences, a lot of dollars, a lot of opportunities. But for me personally, it is a little harder to find ways to connect when the audience is that big, right? Because depending on the format of the conference or festival, it's hard to kind of silo things and kind of be able to kind of narrow a market in some of those rooms, right? And you got to be a shark in that water a lot of times at some of these conferences. If I can say it that way, that's not a bad thing because when you're selling your business, your brand, you're selling services, solutions, you do kind of have to, wear that aggressive, that shark hat at times. But I'm definitely looking forward to the intimacy of festivals, conferences like Thrive 2025. I am in the midst of conference season. We all are. And so I am still having to go to some of those top 5, top 10 cities and engage in rooms. And so I'm getting there. I just know in terms of my preference, I prefer the rooms where there's a little bit more of an intimate setting and we can have that one-on-one dialogue a little bit easier. Um, but just wanted to hop on here real fast, kind of have one final recap. Finishing, I shouldn't say finishing, but I'm headed to, my next location in terms of conferences within the next couple hours, and so I'll be updating you all about where I'm going next. And so check out our social media, Beyond Normal Media. Cross, you just Google it, Beyond Normal Media. We're the first thing that's going to pop up on that first page on your social media platform of choice. We're across all of them. Shout out to everyone I met at Thrive 2025. And if you weren't there this year, make sure you're there next year because it's an excellent, excellent opportunity. Peace.